China Current is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started.
Welcome to China Currents, your weekly news report on what's happening in China. I'm Lisa. In this episode, Ukrainian Foreign Minister visits China, expresses willingness to start talks with Russia, and acknowledges Taiwan as an inseparable part of China. China advocates for all countries to reduce the number of nuclear warheads. The British military prepares to go to war with China, Russia, and Iran in 3 years. The Arab League welcomes the signing of the Beijing Declaration by various Palestinian factions. 270 American business executives travel to China to seek business opportunities. Let's start with new hope for ending the war in Ukraine. From the 23rd of July to the 26th, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba visited China and expressed Ukraine's willingness and readiness to engage in peace talks with Russia. As soon as the plane landed at Guangzhou Baiyun Airport, Dmytro Kuleba posted a short video on social media, stating that one of the key focuses of the bilateral dialogue was how to restore a just and sustainable peace in Ukraine. He believes that China can play a significant role in this process. This visit marks the first time a high-ranking Ukrainian official has visited China since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022. It is also the first official visit by a Ukrainian foreign minister to China since 2012. According to Ukrainian political commentator Maxim Dihan, the timing of Kuleba's visit is quite interesting, coinciding with US President Joe Biden's exit from the 2024 election, who has been a strong supporter of Ukraine. Kuleba's visit was hosted by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Wang Yi pointed out that the Ukrainian crisis has entered its third year with ongoing conflict and risk of escalation and spread to other countries. China believes that all conflicts ultimately need to return to the negotiation table and be resolved through political means. Recently, both Russia and Ukraine have shown varying degree of willingness to negotiate. Although the conditions and timings are not yet ripe, China will support all efforts conducive to peace and will continue to play a constructive role in ceasefire and peace talks. China is also concerned about the humanitarian situation in Ukraine and will continue to provide humanitarian aid. In response, Kuleba stated that China is a great country and an important economic and trade partner for Ukraine. Ukraine supports China's position on the Taiwan question and will continue to adhere to the One China principle. Interestingly, since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022, Taiwan authorities have publicly claimed that they stand with Ukraine and have been providing substantial financial aid. According to public information, Taiwan has currently provided $40.54 million in aid for 3 million Ukrainian refugees. In contrast, the healthcare for Taiwan's 23.57 million residents in 2023 is only $140 million, which is about $17.6 million less than before the Russia-Ukraine conflict began. Even though the Taiwanese authorities have provided a medical budget for Ukrainian refugees that is much more than twice as much as that for Taiwanese residents, it is evident that such dollar diplomacy has not swayed the professionalism of Ukrainian Foreign Minister. Taipei should realize that although the $40.54 million is a lifeline for more than a quarter of Taiwanese patients, it is not enough to buy an F-16 fighter jet, which is insufficient to influence the relation between Beijing and Kyiv. As a former part of the Soviet Union, Ukraine recognized the People's Republic of China as early as October 1949 and established formal diplomatic relations with China as an internationally recognized independent state the year after the Soviet Union collapsed. On the 24th of November 1966, during the 21st session of the UN General Assembly, meeting number 2159, the Taiwan authorities cited the dual representation of Belarus, Ukraine, and the Soviet Union as justification for a similar arrangement regarding China. However, the Ukraine representative argued against Taiwan's arrangement. Instead, they supported expelling the representative of the Taiwan authorities, referred to as the Republic of China, and transferring their seat in the UN to the People's Republic of China. On the other hand, although Taiwan is not a member of the United Nations, it has condemned Russia's decision to recognize the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics in eastern Ukraine as sovereign and independent state because it has violated Article 2 of the United Nations Charter on the use of force against territorial integrity or political independence of any state. As a part of China, if the Taiwan authorities truly want to uphold the dignity of United Nations Charter, then why are they increasing the military budget to $13.8 billion for 2024? If that money were invested in healthcare, Taiwan's patients could receive the same level of care as the Ukrainian refugees. While Taiwan is determined to expand its legal armed forces, Beijing is working hard to persuade the nuclear powers to reduce the number of nuclear weapons and set an example itself. On the 23rd of July, the Perpetual Committee of the 2026 Review Conference of the Treaty of the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or NPT, held its second meeting amid an increasing severe global nuclear threat. On the committee, China's Director General of the Department of Arms Control of MFA, Sun Xiaobo, stated that China supports strengthening dialogue and communication among the member countries of the treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons on the basis of mutual respect and equal consultation. Although China publicly called for a substantial progress to promote nuclear disarmament, nuclear non-proliferation, and peaceful use of nuclear energy, the Japanese government-funded media NHK World Broadcasting still claim that China is apparently expanding its nuclear capabilities. In contrast, Sun Xiaobo commented that China adhered to a self-defense nuclear strategy and has consistently maintained a no first-use policy for nuclear weapons. China's nuclear policy remains highly stable, continuous, and predictable, representing the most meaningful form of transparency. Attempts by certain countries to distort and smear it are futile. It is worth noting that as a defeated country in World War II and the only country that has actually suffered a nuclear attack so far, Japan is nevertheless helping the US to spread its nuclear weapons in Asia. On the 18th of April 2023, the US Navy Ohio-class ballistic missile nuclear submarine sailed into East Asia for the first time. The commander of the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force boarded the ship in a high-profile manner and took photos with the US and South Korean officers. On the 26th of July, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning pointed out that the deployment of nuclear weapons by the United States on the territory of non-nuclear NATO member states are allowing these countries' fighter jets to carry and deliver nuclear weapons, clearly violates the provision of the treaty. These moves of the United States are blatant acts of nuclear proliferation that could encourage more countries to follow suit, hinder nuclear arms control effort, increase the risk of nuclear conflict, and undermine global strategic stability. Unfortunately, the United States is not the only threat to world peace, but also the United Kingdom. According to a BBC report on the 24th of July, the UK must be ready to fight a war against Russia, Iran, and China in 3 years, the new head of the British Army, Ronald Walker, said. Ronald Walker has warned against a range of threats in what he called an increasingly volatile world. He stated that the UK must double the army's fighting power by 2027 and triple it by the end of the decade. His ambition is for the British Army to be able to destroy an enemy 3 times its own size. Ronald Walker's comments comes at a time when the British regular armed force, with over 75,000 members, is at its smallest size in 300 years. So then, which era had the largest British military forces over the past 300 years? According to the British National Army Museum, the largest British army in history was during World War I. By the end of the war in 1918, the British Army has expanded to over 4 million men, relying on conscription across the entire colonial empire. However, a significant portion of these troops came from India, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. But these are now independent democratic nations, and their citizens have the right to decide who they want to fight for. The days when someone could simply put up a notice and have others sent off to Europe to fight and die are probably long gone. Although the British colonial empire has collapsed, its negative impact continued to lead the conflict. The tragedy of the Palestinians is one of such examples. Fortunately, the consensus reached in Beijing gave the world hope that this tragedy would end. After the Beijing Declaration on Ending Divisions and Strengthening Palestinian National Unity, jointly signed by 14 Palestinian factions, including Hamas and Fatah, many countries and international organizations have expressed their approval and welcome. On the 23rd of July, the Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said he very much welcomes the signing of Beijing declarations by the Palestinian factions, adding that it was an important step towards furthering Palestinian unity. On the 24th of July, the Arab League welcomed the Beijing Declaration, which aims to end division, achieve reconciliation, and promote Palestinian national unity. In a statement, the Arab League Assistant Secretary-General for Palestine and Occupied Arab Territory, Saeed Abu Ali, expressed appreciation for China's stance supporting the Palestinian cause through various forms. He also commended the efforts and initiative of the Chinese leadership and its ongoing commitment to supporting the rights of the Palestinian people, their unity, and their just and legitimate struggle to end the Israeli occupation and establish an independent Palestinian state. Not only in diplomacy, China's economy is also attracting more and more international attention. On the 23rd of July, the US-China Business Council, a private non-profit organization of more than 270 US companies that do business in China, concluded a 3-day trip to Beijing. The purpose of the visit was to gain insight into China's future development plans following the third plenary session. The delegation included executives from USCBC's board and was led by USCBC President Craig Allen, and FedEx CEO Raj Subramaniam expressed his gratitude for the opportunity to engage with Chinese leaders to promote commercial relations. During the visit, the USCBC delegation met with the Vice Premier He Lifeng and other senior Chinese officials. While American entrepreneurs are flocking to the Chinese market to look for business opportunities, on the 25th of July, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen still claimed that she would press China to address the country's macroeconomic model that has led to overcapacity. During a press conference at the G20 Finance Minister and Central Bank Governors meeting. Following months of misleading overcapacity claims, the US in May announced a sharp increase in its Section 301 tariff on Chinese electric vehicles from 25% to 100%. The US politicians hope the global markets believe that China EV is an overcapacity industry. However, according to a study by the International Energy Agency, global sales of new energy vehicles will reach 45 million in 2030 and close to 65 million in 2035, up from around 14 million in 2023. Yu Xiang, a senior fellow at Tsinghua University, asked that China buys large amounts of soybeans, oil, aircraft, and other commodities from the US every year. Has it ever labeled the US as having overcapacity? Obviously, Yellen did not respond to this question. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Current. If you have any thoughts or comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. We look forward to hearing from you and see you next time.